Mr. President, I've asked for the floor to explain Pakistan's vote on the draft resolution contained in document A/ES10/L30/Rev1, submitted by the United Arab Emirates on behalf of the co-sponsors. Pakistan fully supports the draft resolution. We did not co-sponsor the draft at the request of the State of Palestine in order to be able to respond to adverse moves against this draft. Mr. President, it is clear that we are meeting in the shadows of the gravest crimes committed and the gravest violations of the principles of the UN Charter since the Holocaust during the Second World War. The distinguished representative of Palestine has described more eloquently than I could of the slaughter and devastation that has been visited on Gaza by an outlaw Israeli regime. Israel has refused the calls by this Assembly, by the Security Council, and even by its patrons and friends to halt the massacre of innocents and accept an immediate ceasefire. The Israeli leadership has reneged on negotiated deals for a ceasefire. It has now initiated its assault on Rafah, which the UN Secretary General has rightly warned, and I quote, would be a strategic mistake, a political calamity, and a humanitarian nightmare, unquote. Indeed, there will come a day when Israel will be held accountable for the crimes that it is committing in Palestine, especially in Gaza today. And we shall work towards holding Israel and its leadership accountable for these crimes. Yet what we have heard today are insults. Insults hurled at the United Nations, at this Assembly, and at its member states. This is the arrogance of the aggressor. It reflects the impunity of the occupier of a land for over 70 years, trampling the inherent and charter-given right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. And we hope that the Assembly will appropriately respond to such insults, because I think it is contrary to the expectations of a member state and to the standards and practices of the United Nations. Mr. President, today the General Assembly is asked to take a first step towards a final settlement of the conflict, an important step to rectify the historic injustice against the Palestinian people. It was as a result of this Assembly's vote in 1947 that Palestine was partitioned between Israel and a Palestinian state. Yet only Israel is a member of the United Nations. The Palestinian people have been denied their right to self-determination since 1947. And after 1967, they have been obliged to live under Israel's brutal occupation. This General Assembly can partially redress this historic injustice by admitting Palestine as a full member of the United Nations. It meets all the criteria of membership. Its membership enjoys the support of the vast majority of the UN member states. It is regrettable, therefore, that Palestine's membership has been blocked in 2011 and again 2 weeks ago by the negative vote of one permanent member of the Security Council. The assertion that Palestine's admission can happen only through negotiations reflects the inequity of this position. Negotiations must have a level playing field. If Israel is negotiating as a full member of the United Nations, so too should Palestine. Mr. President, the adoption of the draft resolution contained in document L30 Rev 1 will determine, I'm sure with the near unanimous support of member states, that Palestine is qualified for membership. It will urge the Security Council to reconsider and endorse the admission of Palestine as a full member state. In the meantime, the General Assembly would accord all the rights for the fullest possible participation of the State of Palestine in the General Assembly and other UN organs and conferences. This exceptional measure applies only to Palestine and does not constitute a precedent, as the resolution states. The adoption of this resolution will be a partial yet vital step towards redressing the historic injustice against the people of Palestine. It will reflect a political reality which would facilitate the revival of a peace process to realize the universally agreed objective of creating a two-state solution, the objective of establishing a viable and contiguous Palestinian state along the 4 June 1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital. I thank you, Mr. President.
I'm a Palestinian. From 21 until 48, I carried a Palestinian passport. There was no such thing in this area as Jews.
Flatten it. Flatten Gaza.
The military to Gaza.
Kill all Palestinians! All of them! Not one left from the river to the sea. Palestine will be deceased!
Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Palestinians have been seeking safety here, now a target for Israel's attacks.
And Israel need to do like this. You see? Now Gaza like this. Gaza need to do like this. Or like this, but all this Jewish. Two options. Kill all Palestinians! All of them! Not one left from the river to the sea. Palestine will be deceased! And Israel need to do like this. You see? Now Gaza like this. Gaza need to do like this. Or like this, but all this Jewish. Two options.
What do you think the response should be to Gaza?
We gotta wipe them off the fucking map.
يا ابني لا
قاط
روتين جماعتين لك حتحلك بمعرخة تعامل الجز برودكشنز لا بير لا تسلم ولا اراق ما بربكبكت لأرحى بكوش أنا ما تجاهر صناعة كورس على الإنترنت شلي أنا حنون المادة كورس أحلى بتاع البور بتزيري أحلى بتاع البور بتزود شلتين ما أحلى بتاع البور بتتولي الحبايب ما أحشى برات على الصفت كوبتا بينوي اشتري محوزانة حبا زانت كتبون حلس حمس لينك بابايو يا ابني لا
قاط
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region.
Protecting civilians does not mean ordering more than 1 million people to evacuate to the south where there is no shelter, no food, no water, no medicine, and no fuel, and then continuing to bomb the south itself. I'm deeply concerned about the clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing in Gaza.
Flatten it. Flatten Gaza.
That will be the last war in Gaza.
This will be.
Yes.
I'm a Palestinian. From 21 until 48, I carried a Palestinian passport. There was no such thing in this area as Jews